I don't believe fairness matters in politics as much as I would like it to, because and media as well, because everybody's just trying to gain political power. And that's the story we're seeing right now. Hillary Clinton suggests Putin has compromat on Trump. Russia will back Tulsi Gabbard third-party bid. And she also goes on to say overtly that Jill Stein is a Russian asset. And I tell you why I brought up the fairness in politics and media. It's because they like to claim a story from Politico about Ukraine interference is a conspiracy theory. That's right. I've referenced it many times because it is the best example of the problems going on right now in politics. According to Politico, Ukraine was seeking to help Hillary Clinton and hurt Donald Trump. I'm not making that up. It was reported in Politico, and the reporter who wrote the story works for the New York Times. So why then is there no media criticism over Hillary Clinton's insane conspiracy theories, which have already been debunked? The Steele dossier is fake news. And she's still claiming Putin has compromat on Trump? Or that Russia will back a Tulsi Gabbard third-party bid? Tulsi has repeatedly said she will not run third party. You want to assume she's lying? Fine. But then you're getting into Russia's going to back her up? These are insane conspiracy theories. They are almost entirely debunked. Let's talk about fairness, though. Because they will say everything I'm saying is also a conspiracy theory. Well, you know what? I guess that's fair then, right? The only problem is I'm actually citing Politico. They're trying to argue that the Russia investigation, which was debunked by Mueller himself, still real. We know the Steele dossier is BS. She's still trying to claim Putin has compromat. Tulsi said she won't run. Don't trust her, fine, but why would Russia back her? All of this is not in alignment with what's actually happening in reality. Let's read the story from the Washington Post. They say, at Tuesday night's Democratic presidential debate, Rep. Tulsi Gabbard hit back at critics who charged she's too close to Russia. Quote, this morning, a CNN commentator said on national television that I'm an asset of Russia. Completely despicable. Gabbard won't be happy to hear Hillary Clinton's latest interview, nor will President Trump or another of Clinton's 2016 opponents, whom Clinton has now lodged similar accusations about. Are they not naming Jill Stein? Okay, they do. I was going to say, like, are they really, a lot of people think Jill Stein spoiled Hillary's chance of winning. And I'm going to have to tell you that you're wrong. I will mention that later tonight, I'm going to be having I had a discussion with Sam Cedar. It was actually really good. And I'll talk about that later. But I bring this up because, his particular view is vote for the lesser of two evils to minimize harm. And mine is more deontological and avoid unethical acts, period. So in the end, I look at Hillary or Trump and I think, not going to vote for either of them. I get it. You might be saying, but Tim, Hillary's clearly worse. Hey, I don't necessarily disagree. I agree in a lot of ways. Trump is kind of bad in a lot of ways, too. I get it. You don't have to share my opinion. The point is, I'm not going to vote for somebody who I think will do bad things. So no, Jill Stein is not a spoiler. If somebody supports what she stands for, it is a principled decision to defend and support that with what you agree. Okay, that with which you agree. Anyway, the point is, if you like Jill Stein, vote for her. Don't let anyone tell you not to vote or to vote for Hillary because she's just a little worse. Listen, if you want to talk about wasting a vote, voting for someone you know is bad simply because you're scared of something worse is what perpetuates a broken system where people are just scared of bad things. Sorry. If things get so bad because people with no principle are willing to keep supporting bad politicians, well, then that's what'll happen. You need to stand up and say, this is who I support and this is why. Not somebody who's like, well, they're really bad. I'm going to vote for them anyway. No, then you're giving support to them and you should be responsible. So in the end, no, Jill Stein didn't spoil anything. Principled individuals who believe in what Jill Stein says, whether she's right or wrong, chose her because she represented their views. Sorry, Hillary, you lost because you didn't campaign in places that Trump did that were really concerned about trade agreements that you support. Let's read on. In a conversation on former Obama campaign manager David Plouffe's podcast, Clinton suggested the Russians are leveraging a number of top U.S. politicians. She suggested Russia had compromat on Trump. She accused 2016 Green Party nominee Jill Stein of being a Russian asset. And she suggested Russia might back Gabbard as a third-party candidate. Okay, I'll stress it again. Gabbard said she's not going to run. Now, you want to talk about the Russian asset argument? I think it's fair to say we can get into the semantics and say whether or not you actually support them, they can use you to their benefit. But this implies that Russian interference in 2016 was worse than it actually was, because in reality, we learned that what Russia did, while they did interfere, had very little impact. And I could be wrong, but I believe the actual assessment was it did not impact the results of the 2016 election. We learned that they had, like 100,000 views or impressions, or like some ridiculously small amount. I get 42 million impressions per month. Okay? I'm an American citizen, though. I get it. Let's read a little bit more. Quote, "They're also going to do third party again," Clinton said. "I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on someone who's currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third party candidate. She's the favorite of the Russians. They have a bunch of sites and bots and other ways of supporting her so far." Oh, every time the establishment says something like that, take a look at this story. This is what people believe she was referring to. Russia's propaganda machine discovers 2020 Democratic candidate Tulsi Gabbard. Now, I could be wrong because it's been since February since I covered this, but I'm pretty sure they're citing an organization that was banned, where the CEO was banned from Facebook for running fake accounts to smear someone. I can't remember what the exact group was, but there was an organization that was labeled DNC operatives, and they created a bunch of fake Russian accounts to follow that guy in Alabama, was it? I can't remember his name. And to make it look like Russia was supporting him. And then everyone was like, oh, look, Russian accounts are following him. It's like, how daft do you have to be to believe? Well, the guy got banned from Facebook for it. Facebook said, you can't manipulate our platform this way. Him and many others got banned. So I'm not going to take their word for it, okay? But I will tell you this. Every time I see this, Hillary Clinton, you are not a likable candidate at large, okay? I mean this with all due respect. You're free to do as you do, but most Americans have disdain for you. It's one of the reasons you didn't win. It's why progressives aren't backing you. It's especially why conservatives aren't backing you. And again, I mean it with all due respect, right? Clinton has a storied career, whether you like it or not. The point is, people just don't like her, okay? So listen. When you come out and say over and over again that Tulsi is a Russian asset, or you push these conspiracy theories, I'll tell you what, come voting day, 2020, regardless of, come primary day, I am going to just jam that button for Tulsi Gabbard, and it is going to be like this massive explosion of joy where I just laugh. I laugh because I like Tulsi Gabbard. I support her. For the most part. Nobody's perfect, I get it. Criticism is welcome. I've criticized her as well, but I think Tulsi has a lot going that the other candidates do not have. And while I also respect Pete Buttigieg for being a serviceman who served overseas, I think it's very, very important for our commander-in-chief. I think he had his answers on the Middle East and why we're there and things like that were sophomoric. Like, I get it, man, you were there. I'll defer to you for sure. But given the choice between Tulsi and saying we shouldn't be there, this is a mistake, there's no good guys in this picture, and you saying we should have a presence, and we've done a bunch of really bad things, I'm going to be like, maybe you don't know, I'm going to vote for Tulsi, okay? And it's surprising, too, because Tulsi's a bit more progressive on a lot of issues, but I will stress, ending private prisons and the war on drugs, those are huge, huge issues for me, and I'll explain the private prisons things. I've heard arguments in favor of it, saying they can often do a better job than the government, but that doesn't mean what they're doing is good, and I won't settle for the current system. We have seen juvenile detention centers actually pay off judges, and we've seen the corruption. I can't blame a business model for corruption, but I can stress that when it comes to the function of rehabilitation, not retribution, we need to figure out what works, and the private system doesn't care for that. So I'm not saying necessarily, maybe the problem isn't private, but maybe there should be regulations on how the prisons operate and certain thresholds they need to reach, like low recidivism rates and things like that. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the government screws a lot of things up because they have no competition. So there's got to be a solution, but I will admit there are problems when it comes to prison, and I lean towards private prisons create an incentive model that I disagree with. So in that regard, Tulsi speaks very much to me. I'm not going to vote for you or Biden or anybody else. I'm only going to vote for somebody who I agree with. So I tell you this, Democrats, when you come out and you say these things, sorry, all it does is make me that much more likely to press that button for Tulsi Gabbard and laugh while I do it. You cannot tell me what I believe in, what to believe in, and I will not bend to fear. They tell me, But what happens then when Trump wins again? Yes, so what? I've lived through Republican presidents. I mean, I gotta admit, okay, that letter Trump sent to Erdogan was like, oh man. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I criticize Trump about his behavior. When the criticism for you, Hillary, was that you were the worst representative of our government and Trump is the worst representative of our culture. But when given the choice between a bad politician and a boorish celebrity who makes crass and lewd comments, people are going to go for like, maybe this guy will be a little better, I guess. I'm not surprised that letter he sent really seemed, I'll say it again, sophomoric. Trump speaks that way. And I've said this, Obama spoke much more fiercely, articulately, and strongly. But listen, that's not what people are concerned about. And I can respect and understand that, which means if we want to win, okay, and defeat Trump, which I really don't think will happen in 2020, well, we need to have a smart, respectable, charismatic individual who can be relatable, who can talk about core issues that are important, and not sling insane conspiracy theories about Trump and Tulsi Gabbard. When you come out and rant about compromat, and we've been through this for 3 years, it's like, dude, you know what? I'm out. I don't want this. Thank you to Yang for saying when we talk about Trump, we lose. You're right. Let's talk about the issues. Instead, they're spinning in circles. There was an interview, a series of interviews with Trump supporters at the Dallas rally on Fox News, and a lot of them were saying they just won't stop talking about impeachment and Trump and scandal. And people are like, so what do you think is more important? The economy, healthcare, immigration, jobs. Duh. I tell you what, man, Twitter is not real life. YouTube is not real life. Regular people aren't paying attention 24/7 to politics, and they don't know about any of this nonsense. All they're thinking about is, how are things going for my family and who's offering me something that's actually going to be good for my life? It's not even necessarily about the country. While you'll see some people say things like, we need a strong armed forces, it really comes down to what they experience in their day-to-day lives. And I tell you this, Russia is not one of them. So you know what? This is one of the biggest issues I take with the Democrats, why I think Trump is going to win, admit it. Okay, when Hillary Clinton, who is one of the last, strong voices the Democrats have, I mean, she might run, who knows, but she is a prominent figure more so than any of the other B-list candidates. And I'm not trying to be mean, Yang is rising very quickly, but there's a big gap between him and where Hillary Clinton is at in terms of prominence and celebrity, and the same is true for Tulsi and everybody else. But when she comes out and says this, you lose all credibility. There's nothing left on that side. And so I'm sitting here thinking, like, all I can do is vote on principle. And while I understand the challenges facing Tulsi and Yang, those are my, I put Tulsi a little bit higher than Yang because of her service record, because she literally just did a couple of weeks with the National Guard because she's a major. And I think the president really, it's one of the, like, if I'm looking at your resume as to why you should be commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and you served, and you're like a major, and even Buttigieg, yes, absolutely. I'm like, that's like the first, that's like 10 points. And then you talk about your policies, and I'm like, those are each an individual point. Seriously, understanding the system that is the military and conflict and overseas and defense, that's huge to me. That's huge. Trump's not that guy. Trump's a businessman. And that's a positive thing, too. We're talking about trade and the economy. So it's no surprise the economy is doing well. Trump's a businessman. But it's also true to say that Trump's got a bad attitude. So I look for somebody who, who's going to be that more of a charismatic leader, especially for the commander-in-chief. And so, look, it comes down to this. I respect and disagree with the Trump supporters. I agree with them on a lot of core issues about the media and manipulation. And look what I'm talking about, Hillary Clinton. Okay? So here's the thing. Tulsi knows this, I'd imagine, and I know this, that I can sit next to a Trump supporter and we can just say, I disagree. And then we can have a beer and eat a slice of pizza. And we'll vote, and we'll take it to the voting booth and say, I hope more people agree with me than you, but at the end of the day, man, let's have a beer and a slice of pizza. And that's the America I love. We're constantly struggling over what's the right way to go. But when you get the Democrats pushing, just policies that regular people don't agree with, divisiveness, accusations of Russian assets, it's like, dude, you are so far off kilter that me here who wants to support the Democrats can't. I can't. And then the Trump supporters are just laughing, like, I'm sorry, buddy. And that's literally what they say. They laugh and they're like, and they're desperately trying to get me to support Republicans. It's not going to happen. Look, there's a certain point, I suppose, where the Democrats go totally off the rails and I have no choice, but I just don't see it. Because in the end, even if Tulsi is the nominee, I know where my principles stand. And that means I would vote third party. Okay? Trump sending troops to Saudi Arabia. Dude, never going to happen. Like I said, I'm not going to support somebody who does something that is completely at odds with my ethics. And when it comes to Tulsi's, wider purview of a lot of her issues, I'm like begrudgingly fence sitting on many of them. However, on big core issues, which she frequently talks about, they really do speak with me. So for Trump, he takes an overt action in Syria, like we'll pull the troops out. I'm like, I lean toward that being a good thing. I understand the complications, but then bolsters troops in Saudi Arabia, and that is a hard negative. Sorry, okay, right? I'm not saying you're wrong for your opinion. I'm just saying I disagree. And so what I would like to see is kind of more of like a national rivalry, as it were, where it's like, the Democrats and the Republicans know that there's a fierce battle ahead. We've got to rally our troops to go get that vote out, and we can win. And then when we lose, we accept it. Okay, George Bush won. I remember that. Everyone was furious. The Supreme Court. I grew up during that, and I was like, and I protested. I was angry over the war in Iraq and a lot of what was going on. And then Obama won, and I'm like, hey, you know what now? And then Obama won again, and I'm like, well, I didn't vote for him the second time, but this is how it works, okay? It's like we're in this battle of ideas, and you don't always win. This, to me, is being a sore loser. They won't stop, and it's frustrating to me because we need a clean win. We need a clean victory. We need a responsible, charismatic individual to lead us, and we're not going to get that if we look like sore losers. And this is why I'm politically homeless, because Hillary Clinton is now talking about compromat Jill Stein being a Russian asset and smearing Tulsi Gabbard, and that is being a sore loser. Look, I get it. You can point to Trump being a sore winner. You won't shut up about Hillary Clinton, but it's fine. They're going to do their thing. They're going to do their thing. It's going to speak to their people. If we want to win, we can't play these games. So you know what? I don't even consider myself, like I used to really consider myself like on the Democrat side, especially with Bernie Sanders coming in. But admittedly, Bernie was independent, so that was like a big resurgence that I think pulled people to the Democrats. Now I'm just kind of like, I'm independent, non-affiliated. I lean kind of left on policy, but you've got a president who won and who is championing those victories, who's being praised by, his supporters. And there's a Democrat versus Republican view of the world where they're fighting over what is true and what isn't. Okay. And I'm sitting here being like, you want to stop talk about Trump, look at what his supporters are saying. And then they say things like this, oh, we'll never win over his diehard supporters. They'll never give up. Okay, then what are you doing? Just stop. Just give up then, right? No, they really do think that they're going to get the vote out by creating this nightmare reality where Trump is an evil Russian trying to destroy the world. And it's like, dude, Trump's another guy with ideas, with personality. And I'm not saying good or bad. I'm saying he's got his own personality. He's got his own ideas. He has his own mission, his own agenda, his own passions. And it speaks to some people and not to others. And you can't just, I'll end by saying this. What they don't understand, the Democrats, is that people in different parts of the country have a different worldview. You have to ask, can I come inside your worldview and have a conversation with you and figure out where we come together so that we can live in harmony? But what ends up happening is you have one person who says, I read the New York Times said X. Well, I read, the Washington Examiner who said Y. And then instead of saying like, let's actually assess this and break this down and come together, you end up with a left screaming and saying no. And here I am, trying to be like, let me come inside your bubble and have a conversation. So on that end, I'll end there, but I will say later tonight, I'll do some more promos for it. I did have a long conversation with Sam Cedar. Check it out. It'll be up at some point, maybe like 7 p.m. I don't know. It's like 2 hours long. It was really good. It was really good. I don't think I know everything. I don't think Sam knows everything. I think Sam knew a lot of things I didn't. I believe that there were some things I knew that he didn't. He said I didn't know that about like some of the things. And I think in the end, it's just two different people who see things kind of differently, trying to figure out where those views come together. So I'll leave it there. Much respect to Sam. It was really awesome. I really respect it. And stick around. Next segment will be 4 p.m. on the main channel, youtube.com/Timcast, and I will see you all there.